Hello, hello. In this video, I'll talk to you about what I wrote 33 days ago. Uh, I liked the Jews. They have a tradition of celebrating Shabat, which starts on Friday and at sundown, and it ends on Saturday at sundown, I believe. And I believe what they do is they gather together in the house of the oldest family member, grandmas or something. And from there, I don't know what they do. But I've seen some videos. Apparently, they sing songs, tell stories, and spend time with the family. So, Jewish girls don't go dancing on Shabbat. And the boys don't either. So I worked as a security guard in the condominiums on Miami Beach. And there were many rich Jews living there. And so I learned this tradition from them, and I like to share it with my family because it's fun to be able to turn off the TV and nobody goes anywhere and they just tell stories. Of course, the spouse works and she's exhausted. I mean, she comes home to make dinner, and um, it's fun to be rich because you have a housekeeper to do all of that stuff. You have workers to work for you instead of you doing the labor. And I would do those things. I would get workers and servants, but this spouse doesn't let me. So, well, in this video, I'll tell you what I spoke about on Shabbat 33 days ago. I said, "Thank you for playing with me, my son. I really enjoy playing with you." Then I went to tell the spouse, "Thank you for the sex, spouse. I appreciate that very much." And then I told grandma, "Thank you for getting out of bed, grandma." Because she is heavy, she's obese, and she's in bed all day. So when she does get out, I appreciate it. And then I began to sing, "Como ríos de agua viva, como ríos de agua viva, como ríos de agua viva en mi ser." These are songs from when I was a kid. Like rivers of water, living water. Like rivers of living water. Like rivers of living water. Like rivers of living water in my being, in my body, in my being. The other one. Demos gracias al Señor, demos gracias al Señor. Por las mañanas las aves cantan sus alabanzas a Cristo el Salvador. Y tu hermano, ¿por qué no canta alabanzas a Cristo el Salvador? This one is giving thanks to the Lord. Give thanks to the Lord. It was my grandmother's song. And you, my brother, why don't you give thanks to Christ the Lord? All right. Okay, the daughter didn't participate in this one. And by the way, these Shabbats are just myself trying to get the family to do something together. Most of the time I have to follow each one of them to spend a few minutes with them. The daughter, she said she had a headache and she was sleeping. My mother, for Shabbat, she said, "Thanks, Daniel, for eating less." All right, she always has a way of bothering you. My mother there. And then this is when she said it. "Thank you for the spouse," right? The female here. "Thank you for her better hours, Last year she had 6 days, I mean 6 hours a day, and this year she has 8 hours per day. And the spouse didn't say no to that, but in recent times, like in the last couple of weeks, the spouse told me that she really just wants to get home 1 hour earlier because she is exhausted. So in order to motivate her, I told her that her son was hungry at what 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and she says, "Well, you cook for him." And so she came home and she found some cornbread, but that was his big sister that did it with him. I hope she was teaching him. I was out here in the hammock. All right. So that's Shabbat. It's a lousy Shabbat. It's not as good as it could be. Well, you see, the kids, they don't know these traditions. They haven't met any Jewish kids. I mean, my daughter did, but she was like tiny. She was like 5 years old, or no, she must have been 3 years old when she met a busload of Jewish kids at the park. And even then, the children were different. Of course, they were in uniform. The girls had skirts at the park. They must have been school age. Maybe my daughter was the youngest, yeah. The others must have been 5-year-olds or something. But somehow there was a piece of candy, and one girl offered it to another. And the Jewish girls didn't accept it. Yeah, they didn't accept candy from other strange children. So that means they were already trained. Isn't that something? All right. I would like to train my children too. Oh, I want soldiers. Useful. Booker T. Washington called them useful people. He's talking to the black ex-slaves. I think he was, well, maybe it was 100 years ago, but it was after he was free. He was born a slave. Booker T. Washington apparently opened up a school, Tuskegee something. I think it's in Alabama. I got to look this up. But he taught three things. Number one, he taught intelligence. After you sweep, you mop. After you mop, you clean the mop. After you clean the mop, you put it away. You don't have to, nobody has to tell you to do these things. You should know. He gave the example of a squeaking gate. He said the janitor, the first time he walked by it and he heard it squeak, he should have gotten some oil and put it on the gate. The second thing he taught was useful hands. It doesn't say what useful hands, but it gives a description of a student that went home for 2 weeks and couldn't find a job. So this student, and what happened was Booker T. Washington went to this town and he said, "Why is that house so beautiful compared to all the other houses?" And the person that was with him said, "One of your students came home and couldn't find work. So he fixed the roof, he fixed the fence, he painted the house, 2 coats on the outside, 2 coats on the inside." Then he apparently got a job somewhere because everybody could see that he had done a wonderful job. And then Booker T. Washington, he mentioned, that's the kind of people I want here. You don't deserve to be here if you're not going to leave, whether you're here 1 year or 4 years, and then be useful. Learn to be useful. All right, my friends, please go. Oh, I'm not Jewish, by the way. I'm attempting to be a Christian. I'm 41 years old and I'm learning to read the Bible. I watched a bunch of movies, but in the last couple of years when I had internet, I watched a bunch of Christian movies. But when you don't have a job, you really have more time and you really are able to think about things that most people just don't think about. Hello, my lovely kitten. Come here. Oh, she got heavy on me. That's a Tai Chi trick, by the way, to get heavy. So that children do it, so that, like babies, toddlers, so that you can't pick them up. All right, please go read the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It will change your life. And read up on Gary Davis or watch his video. Gary Davis. The Gary Davis story. So back to my religion. I am just learning to be a Christian. You see, in my upbringing, it was all calisthenics or just exercise or just ceremony. You memorize songs, you sing, you respond. Well, of course you know which one. It was the Catholic upbringing. But the Catholics are famous for not reading their Bible. Anybody else, pick them off the street. Perhaps even guys that don't go to church can answer questions that the Catholics would stumble upon. All right. Be a better Christian than I am, or be a better person than I am. Learn about your religion if you don't have any upbringing. You don't have any faith. One guy put it to me this way in a book, Vernon Kitabu Roshi Turner. Vernon Kitabu means book. And his story was, when he was a kid, he went to the library. He was a black kid. And the bullies kicked the books out of his hands. So he went back to the library and got the karate books. And he became a very powerful martial artist. He read Psalm 144, the warrior's psalm. He prayed to God and God gave him that gift. And in his book, Soul Sword, the hero is a black man and he decides to have an invisible friend, which is what we call God. So that is interesting. All of these are great books. They do change your life if you meditate upon them. You think about what is the deep meaning. Like in the book Soul Sword, there were only 3 places: the school, the city of limitations, which is where the boy lived, and the family. Oh, and then the other one, the others and the family. And it's difficult when you are different from your family. You are related, but you are very different from them. But in that difference, even though you may get incarcerated, I've been incarcerated, the only thing that upsets me from being incarcerated were 2 things. One, I lost 12 and a half days with my son. I didn't see him for 12 and a half days because I was incarcerated. The second thing was that if you read the story of Cinderella, that was cleaned up by, I think, Disney. The original story, the name of the Cinderella is Ash Puddle, because she slept to keep warm by the fireplace. And in that story, the evil stepmother tells the two sisters of Cinderella, put on this shoe, the Cinderella shoe, right? Uh, and the prince is looking for his well, the girl he danced with that lost the shoe, and they try to put her on, and the big sister says, "Oh, my big toe won't let me fit the shoe in." So this evil stepmother told her, "Cut it off," and that one did it. And that's when you listen to bullies. Don't listen to bullies, even if they're your mother. Don't cut off your own toe. And then the other sisters, the prince found out that they were not the real Cinderella or the real Ash Puddle. So then he went back and got the other sister on horseback, right? And the other sister couldn't put on the shoe either. So the mother said, "Cut off the heel of your foot. You won't mind it once you are queen." So she cut off the heel of her own foot, listening to her mother's advice. And then the prince eventually found out. The birds told him, "Look, there's blood on the trail, blood on the trail. Look at her foot." So finally, Cinderella puts on the shoe, and the prince lives happily ever after, right? But what I'm getting at is that the doctors over there, they said, "Oh, you need pills, Daniel. You need pills." No, they don't know anything about me, except what they read in that report. And you could read a report uh, and get the wrong impression of a person. You really can. And so I took the pills for several reasons. One, they were not letting me out. I've been there 5 days. And two, all the women that were in there, yes, they have you mixed. They were not my type. And then I said, I've been here 5 days, and then I see a beautiful girl walking in, beautiful in my eyes. And I said, oh no. I was fine until she walked in here. I got to take the pills tomorrow because I don't want to be walking around here with an erection and stuff. I mean, I really like the type of girl that walked in. Whereas the ones that had been there, they were older, they were younger, but they were not my type. Daniel, you took pills for girls. But then I did wrong because I hate it. That's the one thing I go back at. I mean, I really don't like it. That I took the pills just to get out of there. And sure enough, 2 days later, I was out of there. And then the next time I was in there, it was only because the woman here, the spouse, she lied. She went and filled out an ex parte paper. And actually, my mother wrote it, and this spouse signed it, which is my mother's traditional way. She usually throws the rock, as my grandpa says, and hides her hand so that nobody knows who did it. But then she causes a war. And so that's where we were back then. But this time, that's why I make so many videos. And now I have the timestamp on them so that I can upload them and know in what sequence they go up. My son, I learned how to do it, but then I taught my son and I taught my daughter how to put this timestamp in there. I like it. All right, my friends, go do something. Go do a good deed. Stop bothering people. You bother your parents by making them nag you, like, go brush your teeth, go brush your teeth. Eventually, like my mother's on my case, right? She said, Daniel, last night you didn't sleep until late. Meaning at 12 midnight, because I saw what time I did my last video. But what she means is, in my opinion, she wants me to start taking pills so that I can go to sleep. It's all about control. Now I understand it. When I was 20, they told me about it. Your mother is controlling. And I said, what? I don't understand. She doesn't let you answer the phone. If you have any girl that is shy and says, hi, she doesn't let you go out with the girl or that was so innocent, so pure. Like I remember one time I brought Sonia home and I just met her. We were walking down, I was walking the dogs and I told her, oh, this is where I live and come, I'll show you my mom. I'll introduce you. And I opened the door and I said, Mom, look, I want you to meet Sonia. Go home, Sonia. I mean, my mom was a very bad person. But the Bible says, don't judge lest you be judged. So now, what do? I'm doing my time. I got some time to go with this old woman, my mother. But I look at her and she's just in bed every day. But when she does get up, I mean, I make sure I go feed her and stuff like that, because if I don't do it, then she gets up real upset and starts trouble. She might not even say a word, but I already know she's on my case, you know? And she'll do something like take away my laptop, which is her laptop. This is her laptop here. So what do you do? The only way, some people say, Daniel, you are insane. I mean, you talk to a computer all day. I say, well, I'm helping somebody. Somebody out there will say, gosh, I already had one person tell me, you're the best YouTuber on YouTube, you know? And I was like, wow, I appreciate that. Because if I am insane, you'll be able to see what insanity is like. And if I'm not insane, I'm just surrounded by evildoers, then you'll see what that is like. I mean, if the women over here, like the neighbors, they saw this spouse come home and start cutting the grass, and they were like, why aren't you cutting the grass? And I told them, if you only knew how that woman treats me, you would know why I don't cut her grass. And the yelling the spouse does, and the sexual withholding that she does. That's why I put her to work, because if you're at work, you're not bothering me. She won't let me do things. Fix the house. I mean, she won't let me do anything. Fix it the way I want it, right? Like the living room full of weight room. Make the living room a weight room. She won't let me do that. She wants it to be a place for, oh, she's got a cousin that's really gung-ho over this. It's a feminine place. A pretty place. You know, something you can't even sit down on because, no, don't sit there. You'll ruin the furniture. It's a place that they call it anal retentive, that type of personality, where everything is so neat. So her cousin has it, but her cousin didn't get married until recently, and she got divorced instantly because she married this doctor that had bottles all over the place, cans of soda, and so they're like, what? I'm your housekeeper? What? Get out of here. She kicked him out. Well, that's what happens when you marry after, I'll say 20. Marry when you're young. Oh, marry when you're old. And then I'll also say, because of the society that we live in, women are actually taught not to respect men. My mother taught me to act like a woman. As far as sit like a woman with your knees touching. She had so many criticisms, or her way of putting it, trainings. She was training me to eat with my mouth closed, but she doesn't eat that way now. My daughter actually has told me that she can't stand eating with grandma or eating with her own mother, because Her mother licks her fingers. Uh, Her mother, the spouse, my spouse, she doesn't eat breakfast, not much anyway, because she doesn't want to go to the bathroom at work where she's a lunch lady. She's too busy. So then when she comes home over here, uh, she eats, and she's so exhausted, and she wants to watch her TV novellas, and she's so that could be 10 o'clock at night, and I say, well, you ready for sex? And she says, no, I just ate, 2 hours ago, and then I had to wash the dishes. And well, the spouse is a task-oriented person. I am a people-oriented person. I was supposed to be a teacher, where I hang out with people and talk, etc. Whereas this spouse, she likes doing things. Even at home, on a day off, she's gardening. She's not sitting still, which is fine. But it's not fine when she chases away all my friends. I used to have friends. Okay, they were mostly female. All right, they were girlfriends. But she won't allow any of that. So the only way you can keep your girlfriends once you have kids is if you live separately from your spouse in modern society. In the old days, you walked into that house, the whole family lived there, but you went to have sex with your beautiful woman somewhere else in whatever part of town, a mistress. But I understand it. Back then, you didn't get divorced. Now you get divorced, etc. All right, go read the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Be better than I am. Thank you.